Pretty interesting day for semiconductor investors today. We can see Micron is up roughly 8% as I am recording. And then a huge semiconductor, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, is down roughly 2% today. Both these companies have had some recent news that are impacting these stock prices. So let's take a closer look in today's episode. So first, let's take a closer look at Micron. We can see a nice 8% day. For those that don't know, right, Micron has definitely seen a huge blunt in this semiconductor downturn, especially for those not familiar. Memory is one of the most, I want to say, commoditized semiconductor product. So when the whole market tends to go down, memory is the one that gets hit the hardest. So we can see Micron has definitely gone up and down. It's a very, very cyclical stock, even in the past year alone. But year to date, the stock has kind of done some great returns, especially thanks to today. It's up 26%. So what's happening with Micron? And it's going to be this, right? So late last week, we did hear from Samsung, another huge player in the memory market, that they are going to cut their production. They're going to cut some of their production in the memory units. And this is very, very important. And let me explain why this is interesting. Because about a few months ago, I think we heard it in late 2022 and early 2023, that Samsung was going to be one of the few memory companies that had no plans of cutting their memory chip production. They were going to continue to produce memory, even though prices were going to go down. And like I mentioned, we are seeing this over inventory correction in the semiconductor market in consumer electronics. So what ends up happening is these memory companies, typically, they start to reduce their manufacturing until inventory levels correct themselves. Because if they have too much inventory and everybody keeps producing, it's going to be a flat out pricing war, and everybody's going to decline their average selling prices of memory dramatically, and it's just not going to be good for the business. So this is what normally happens. But in late 2022, in early 2023, Samsung said, hey, we're not going to do that. We're not going to play nice. Unfortunately, it seems like that was a bad call for them, as the company did report very, very low profits, and now they're kind of shifting things around. So obviously, for a Micron investor, this is great to hear, right? Because originally, if you were a Micron investor, you thought that they were going to continue to produce, right? And that would have meant that the average selling prices of a lot of these memory chips would continue to go down, as Samsung continued to overflood the market. Well, now that's not the case, right? So a great case for Micron investor is now Samsung is cutting down that production. So maybe average selling prices might not get hit as hard, but they are getting hit very, very hard in the past few quarters. Here we can see some reports from TrendForce where we look at the NAND flash products in the first quarter of 2023, where they're estimated to still go down in the low teen digits or high single digits in certain markets. We also see here DRAM productions, the average selling price also down some 15 to 20%, others up to 23%. So we can see the memory market is still pretty scary, but news like this is definitely good for Micron investors at least. Before we go any further, I want to thank you for watching, and I need your help to reach my goal of 30,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you can do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and thumbs up. Also, if you want some fantastic insight into the semiconductor industry, join my other channel, Semiconductor Investing and More, where I use my electrical engineering background to break down the semiconductor market. Finally, I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for their subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode. So while I'm not a Micron investor, I do have a semiconductor podcast, and Billy is one who in the past few weeks has been talking about why he is excited about Micron Technologies. So if you haven't checked out the podcast, make sure to check it out. We definitely have a few updates on the memory market there, so enjoy. Now the second article, or the second piece I wanted to take a closer look, is Taiwan Semiconductor. And we can see the stock right now is down roughly 2%. It is trending back up. But here is the main report. Luckily for semiconductor investors, Taiwan reports their monthly revenue numbers, and they just reported their March 2023 numbers. Unfortunately, things don't look to be that hot in the semiconductor space. Month over month revenue was down roughly 11%, and year over year revenue was down 15.4%. So let me say the year over year revenue doesn't surprise me, right? We are in the shortage of a semiconductor. We are in the semiconductor glut, over inventory correction. We're seeing consumer electronic demand kind of dwindling. So for me, the year over year decrease does not surprise me at all, right? Another thing is with underutilization, I'm pretty sure customers are going to TSMC and kind of renegotiating prices at this moment compared to maybe a year ago when prices were a lot higher because utilization rate was in all-time highs, and so or around all-time highs, right? What really confuses me though right now is this month over month decrease. I would have expected that the first half of quarter one, so January and February, would have been the weakest for this semiconductor company. I did not personally expect March to be this weak. I think we're gonna have to wait for earnings and kind of see what these semiconductor companies report. But this one is pretty interesting. I'm not worried, more curious than anything. Because remember, the semiconductor chips that they manufactured here, in theory, are still unfinished goods. So the chips here are probably not going to be used for maybe in a quarter or two, maybe even 3. So this is more kind of forward looking to some extent, in my opinion. I wonder if a lot of companies are going to start to reduce maybe a little bit more guidance for the upcoming quarters, something to keep an eye out. But again, it could be a mixture of everything, of demand going down, of margins decreasing because they are selling their utilization rate and maybe a lower price. But remember, about a week ago, we took a closer look that, hey, global demand for notebooks was expected to grow quarter over quarter in the second quarter of 2023. But unfortunately, we are seeing kind of the opposite, where the first quarter of 2023, we see a lot of big players report huge decline in demand. So it's a very confusing time right now in the market. TSMC is pretty interesting stock. I do own a few positions, but right now I'd rather invest in the overall semiconductor ETF than invest in TSMC. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Let me know what you guys think, especially with this TSMC drop in revenue month over month. Again, like I mentioned, I'm not surprised with the year over year decline. What I'm really surprised at is that month over month decline. So take care and catch you later.